The day my uncle threw me out of my own house, he smiled. That smile is something I will never forget. I stood at the front door, staring at the man I had trusted for years. Behind him were two strangers holding official-looking folders. My uncle pointed toward the street. "You have 10 minutes to get your things." I actually laughed. "This is my house." He looked at me calmly. "No, it was your house." Then he handed me a document. My hands started shaking. According to the paper, I had sold the house to him 6 months earlier. The signature looked exactly like mine. But I had never sold my home. Never. The house had belonged to my father. After he died, it became the one thing I had left that still felt like him. Every room carried a memory. The chair where he used to drink tea. The window where we watched storms together. The small garden he planted himself. And now my uncle was standing there, claiming all of it belonged to him. I looked at him. "How did you do this?" He shrugged. "You signed the papers." "I didn't." "You did." Then he said something that hurt more than anything else. "Maybe you should have read what you signed." I suddenly remembered the months after my father's death. My uncle had offered to help me with the inheritance paperwork. He had told me not to worry. "Your family," he had said. "You can trust me." I had believed him. That trust had cost me my home. I called the police, but my uncle showed them the documents. Everything appeared legal. One officer quietly told me that if I wanted to challenge the transfer, I needed legal proof. So I packed a bag. Not because I accepted defeat. Because I knew arguing wouldn't beat someone who had prepared for this. Before leaving, I looked at my father's photograph hanging on the wall. I whispered, "Dad, I'll get it back." My uncle heard me. He laughed. "You're wasting your time." I walked outside without answering. But that night, sitting alone in a cheap motel room, I opened my old laptop and started searching through everything I had. Bank records, emails, messages, photographs, documents. And then I found something. Something my uncle had completely forgotten about. A photograph taken on the exact day he claimed I had sold him the house. The location was still attached to it. And according to that location, I was over 200 miles away. My uncle had just made his first mistake. The next morning, I took the photograph to a lawyer. He studied it silently. Then he looked at me. "Do you have the original property agreement?" "No." "My uncle has it." "Any proof you were somewhere else that day?" I showed him the photograph. He nodded. "That's a start." Then I showed him my bank statements. The document claimed my uncle had paid me a large amount of money for the house. But there was one problem. I had never received a single dollar. My lawyer leaned back in his chair. "If you sold your house, where's the payment?" "I don't know." "Exactly." For the first time since I had been thrown out, I felt hope. We started digging. We requested the official property records. We checked the date of the alleged sale. We contacted the office where the documents had supposedly been signed. And then we found something strange. The transfer required witnesses. 2 people had supposedly watched me sign the agreement. We tracked down the first witness. He remembered my uncle. But he didn't remember me. Then he said something that made my blood run cold. He brought a document and asked me to sign it. He said it was just a confirmation form. "Did you see the homeowner sign it?" "No." The second witness said almost exactly the same thing. Now we knew my uncle had built his entire story around paperwork that nobody had actually seen me sign. But there was still one problem. The signature. It looked like mine. My lawyer explained that a signature appearing on a document doesn't automatically prove that I personally signed that document. We needed to prove how it got there. Then I remembered something. A few months before my father died, I had signed several blank forms for my uncle. He had told me they were needed for estate paperwork. I had trusted him. That memory made me sick. I called my uncle. He answered immediately. "Have you finally accepted that the house is mine?" I stayed calm. "No. I just want to understand something." "What?" "Why did you say you paid me for the house?" Silence. Then he laughed. "Because that's what the agreement says." I smiled. "Right." I ended the call. My lawyer looked at me. "Don't contact him again." "Why?" "Because now he knows you're investigating." But my uncle didn't know the whole truth. We had discovered something even bigger. The property office had security cameras, and the footage from the day of the alleged sale was still archived. If my uncle had really watched me sign those papers, the camera would prove it. And if I wasn't there, his entire story would collapse. The security footage changed everything. There I was on the screen. Or rather, there I wasn't. The footage showed my uncle entering the property office alone. He carried a black folder. He stayed inside for almost 40 minutes. Then he walked out carrying the same folder. I never entered the building. Not once. My lawyer watched the footage twice. Then he smiled. We have him. But I didn't want to rush. My uncle had spent months planning this. I wanted to know exactly how far his lie went. So I did something unexpected. I called him. I give up. He was silent for a moment. Then I heard him laugh. I knew you'd come to your senses. I can't fight you anymore. Good. I just want one thing. What? Send me the original agreement. He didn't hesitate. That was his mistake. He sent me a scanned copy that same evening. My lawyer examined it. Then he noticed something. The digital file contained metadata. The document had supposedly been signed 6 months earlier, but the file had been created only 3 weeks after that date. My uncle had edited the document later. He had forgotten that computers leave fingerprints. Now we had the photograph, the bank records, the witnesses, the security footage, and the digital evidence. But there was one final piece. My lawyer discovered that my uncle had also submitted a power of attorney document claiming I had authorized him to handle the sale. I had never signed one. We requested the original. And there it was. Another signature. Another lie. Except this time the handwriting expert immediately noticed something. The signature had been copied. Not forged perfectly. Copied. The pressure patterns were wrong. The ink movement was wrong. Everything was wrong. My uncle had built a house of lies. And now every wall was falling apart. We filed everything. Then I waited. For weeks, my uncle continued telling relatives that I was a bitter man who couldn't accept losing his property. Some family members believed him. Others stopped talking to me. I didn't defend myself. I didn't need to, because I knew what was coming. The court date finally arrived. My uncle walked into the courtroom wearing an expensive suit. He looked at me and smiled. You should have stayed quiet. I looked straight at him. I did. His smile disappeared. Then the evidence was placed in front of the court. And for the first time, my uncle realized he wasn't fighting me anymore. He was fighting his own lies. The courtroom became completely silent. My lawyer presented the evidence one piece at a time. First, the bank records. My uncle claimed he had paid me. There was no payment. Not one. Then came the photograph. On the date of the alleged sale, I was more than 200 miles away. Then came the witnesses. Neither had seen me sign anything. Then came the security footage. My uncle entering the property office alone, carrying the documents, and leaving alone. My uncle's lawyer tried to explain it away. But then my lawyer presented the digital evidence. The document my uncle claimed had existed 6 months earlier had actually been created weeks later. My uncle looked nervous. Then came the final document. The fake power of attorney. The handwriting expert explained exactly why the signature had been copied. I watched my uncle's face change. The confidence disappeared. The anger disappeared. For the first time he looked scared. He had spent months convincing everyone that I was the liar. Now the truth was sitting in front of him. The property transfer was overturned. The fraudulent documents were investigated. And eventually, my father's house came back to me. I walked through the front door alone. I didn't celebrate. I just stood in the living room. Everything was exactly where I remembered it. My father's old chair. The family photographs. The small mark on the wall from when I was a child. I touched the wall and closed my eyes. I had almost lost everything because I trusted the wrong person. My uncle later tried to apologize. He said he had made a mistake. But I didn't believe him. A mistake is forgetting someone's birthday. A mistake is breaking something accidentally. What he did was a choice. He chose greed. He chose deception. And he chose to believe that because he was family I would never fight back. He was wrong. I never destroyed him. I never threatened him. I never had to. I simply exposed the truth, and the truth did the rest. Before leaving the courtroom that day, my lawyer shook my hand. "You were patient," he said. I smiled. I had to be. Because sometimes revenge isn't about hurting the person who hurt you. Sometimes revenge is simply standing back, collecting the truth, and watching their own lies destroy everything they built. My uncle thought he had stolen my home. In reality, he only taught me one lesson. Never trust someone just because they call themselves family. And when someone takes everything from you, don't lose yourself trying to get revenge. Get the truth. Because when the truth finally comes out, the person who thought they won may discover they never had the victory at all.